episode 103 of the Zeens and Roger Crochet podcast. I hesitated because this is kind of actually episode 102 part B, but I've split them up. It's the same day. I've put my hair up in a bun so that you can distinguish between the two episodes because I'm thoughtful like that. And I've changed cardigan because I ended the last episode on a blue jumper. But my goodness, I don't understand what's going on with all of this. So apologies. Just in case you haven't caught up and you didn't watch 102, a brief intro. My name is Rosina. I am a crochet enthusiast and designer, and I live in the southwest of the UK. I live in Devon, and unlike this morning, where it was chucking it down with rain, it has now stopped. There's blue in the sky and it's all right. I probably should be taking this opportunity to quickly nip to the shops to go and buy some wholemeal flour because the youngest one wants to make biscuits following a Roman recipe. So I mean, I've seen that recipe. They don't look very exciting, but it's homework. But whether or not I make it, I don't know, because basically recorded the first episode this morning, had lunch, but it's now somehow 2 o'clock. I don't understand. So whether or not I've got time to get to the shops after I've done this, I don't know. I'm just going to move the light. Bear with me. Is that better? Well, that's a bit better. I'm also expecting a parcel. I've just had a notification about half an hour ago saying the Amazon man was about 8 stops away. And so I was reluctant to hit record because I didn't want him to show up when I was sat here chatting to no one. He doesn't know I'm talking to crochet peeps on the internet. But do you know what? I waited. I watched a couple of other podcasts, crochet podcasts that I haven't seen for a while. And I decided, do you know what? Just go for it. If he catches you filming weird stuff in your front room, so be it. So where episode 102 was all about my FOs, this one's going to be about my whips. I've got a small whip here. That is a work in progress. For those not in the know, but I'm sure you all know what whips and foes are. So this one, yeah, it's all about my works in progress. However, what I would like to say is that in the last episode, I literally couldn't talk about, oh no, it's not him. I couldn't talk about all my finished objects so far for 2023 because there's a lot of them. But there's at least 3 I didn't talk about that actually eventually have become free patterns on my blog. So if you're curious about the other projects that I didn't get around to talking about in the video, then please do check out my blog. There's at least 3 patterns, probably the top of the page, that are all things that I've done in 2023 or at the end of 2022. Somebody in a van drove past, but they've not stopped. Oh, he's turning around down the bottom of the close. If he stops, he's delivering a ream of colourful paper so we can make paper chains for Christmas. A very cheap way of decorating your home, and we're all partial to colourful paper chains in this house. Don't know why. I don't know where it came from. It's not like I grew up with paper chains. I didn't. No, I don't think so. Anyway, what else was I going to say? What else? Just so you know, if you wanted to win a copy of the Modern Granny Stitch book by Claudine of Iron Lamb, I tell you how you can do that in episode 102. What I didn't do is say when the deadline would be, because I'm not very clever. I'll put it in the notes and whatnot of episode 102. Let's say you've got until like the 5th of December, and then I'll put a name, pluck a name out of a hat. But go and watch that. I think I did it at the end of that video. Go and watch that one. if you want to enter. And then also I have a sale on all my patterns on Etsy and Ravelry. You get 25% off if you put the code NOVSALE in at the checkout. So that's NOBSALE, and that ends at the end of November. Right, so if I've now got those things out of the way, what else? I guess it's just to get cracking with talking about what I've been up to. I feel like I'm blowing my own trumpet all of the time with these podcasts because I very rarely find the time to make patterns by other makers and other designers. And so basically it's almost like I'm just sitting here going, look at all these amazing things I've made. Yeah, I designed them all. I don't want it to be like a sales pitch. I want it to be a chat. It just so happens that all the things I make, I've just made up myself. And I don't have the time, even though, oh my gosh, there's so many gorgeous crochet patterns out there that I want to make. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I don't even know if I'll be able to do next year because the first, I've got a big chunk of time next year already allotted to a new design that is going to take a lot of my focus because it's something I've never done before and I'm a bit anxious about it. Basically, I've been roped into designing something that uses probably quite a fine yarn, and I have to swatch up first lots of different lacy stitch patterns, but I think it might take a good couple of months to sort that one out. So already I know I'm going to be doing that and not being able to make something from Morit or something. Like things that have been on my list for ages are, what was it? I want to make the confetti jumper from Nomad Stitches. I mentioned that briefly, and this is why I'm saying it again, because I watched episode 101 this morning to remind myself what I was bleating on about last time I did a podcast, and I was talking about that jumper, you know, briefly, but I've still got in a project bag all the yarn I want to make for that jumper. It's just I haven't got around to it. The only work in progress that is by a different designer is a knitted project. Whew. And it is, this would not be a surprise really to most people because it's sort of, for some reason, it's quite surprising that it was so crazy popular because it's so simple. Is the Sophie shawl by, is it, I can't even remember who it's by. I want to say Petite Knitter, but I don't even know if I've got that right. But it's a Sophie shawl. Aran weight yarn, some circular knitting needles. I know people talk about what kind of knitting needles they're using. I don't know what these are. Knit Pro, Knit Picks, they're not, I don't think they're like posh mid-range knitting needles that I bought to make this pattern. And it's a shawl. You can get there's a scarf version as well, which is Didier, much smaller, but so it's like it'll come to a peak and then I shall decrease back down again the other side. So I'm nearly halfway. It's an Aran weight project, and my goodness, really good fun, and it's very addictive. However, my stitches are a bit dodgy really because I'm not a strong knitter, but I mean, I love the edge though. I mean, it with practice, I'm sure I would be fine. But there was one extremely dodgy area, which is embarrassing. A dropped stitch, and I thought, you're not a very good knitter when it comes to techniques and skills in terms of fixing mistakes. So you're going to practice on this. I wasn't very far in when I messed up. And so I went back to try and pick up the stitches, and I messed it up even more when I did that. And then I fixed it, knitted a few more rows, looked back at it, and I dropped a different stitch because in my inexperience of sorting out drop stitches, I'd managed to drop another one, or it dropped even further basically, and I hadn't picked up that one. So I had to go back into it again. And somebody online just went, well, just get somebody else to do it for you. That's not the point. You need to know these skills yourself. I mean, I understand the principle of picking up stitches, and I know that you can use crochet hook to like kind of go loop it all back through. I get the principle of it, the theory. However, in practice, I'm not very good. And like there's certain ways depending on which way you do it. And I kept doing the opposite of what I was supposed to do, even though I knew what I had to do, but my hands just mirrored. I don't know. So I've tried to avoid doing that again by just not making mistakes. The only mistake I think I've made, I think I did drop a stitch over here actually sort of more recently. I haven't done any of this for weeks, and actually if not months, because I picked up my project bag that it lives in and a spider crawled out. So I know it's been a long time since I worked on this, maybe 2 or 3 months. And the last time I worked on it, I think it was a bit of car knitting, and I dropped a stitch again, and this time I managed to rectify it and it was neater. So practice does make more perfect, just not totally perfect, because it's still, there's something. Oh, I've just seen the Amazon van drive past. He's going to turn around and then he's going to come back. So anyway, halfway through, I'm doing okay. I may have forgotten a couple of increases now and again, and I have tinked to then go back and do it. I'm trying to make the effort to learn some more knitting skills, so I'm not completely novice at it. And I'm using one joint ball, which doesn't seem to have gone down in the slightest, but I know it must have done. This is a cheap ball of pinky Aran weight yarn, and I think it's from Aldi. But I have to say that I'm not a massive fan of other Aldi yarn, but this one's okay. I think it's potentially got about 20% of wool in it, which makes it a bit better. Oh. He hasn't come to my house yet, which makes me think that he's got another delivery down there first. The Amazon man is still outside. Just waiting for him to go. There he goes. Off he goes. I'm really disappointed in the paper. The photograph. I was in a rush. I was actually in IKEA looking at the colourful paper yesterday, going, gosh, that's a bit expensive. You don't get very much. And so I, in store, went online to Amazon, and then the photographs of the paper you got were like, it made it look like there was a stack that much, like 2 reams worth. I may as well have bought the stuff from IKEA, because they only get that much. 10 quid. I'm very disappointed. That's not 10 quid's worth of paper. I'm a moron. I didn't read the blurb because I was in a rush. I was hungry for meatballs. Oh God, what an idiot. Always read the small print. Always read the description in these things. It's plenty for what I want it for, isn't it? It's just, I thought it was going to be 2 or 3 times more than that. It's still probably a similar price to the IKEA stuff, to be honest with you. Anyway, right, where was I? So I've talked about the Sophie shawl. That's the only non-me thing. Everything else is all about me. Surprise, surprise. No different there, is there? No difference. It's always about me. Everything's about me. Right, so I don't know what to talk about first, because potentially one thing leads to another here. So I've got my book. I'm just going to pop that out of the way because it's distracting me. Right, I'm going to talk about the cowls that I've been making, because I've got it in my hand. I was crocheting this whilst I was waiting for the man to go. I've already done this once, but it was massive. This is the ribbing for a cowl I'm doing, okay? I've had to frog back this, which is a 4-ply sock yarn, held double with a mohair kid silk, okay? It was about, I managed to get about this much work done, another like 2 inches on top of this, if not, yeah, no, I'm not going to over exaggerate. 2 inches of work I did on this, and then I had to frog it right back down to the first row, round because it was about 2 inches too long and it would have been massive. I only have one 100 skein of the sock weight that's hiding under here, and so if I made it too long then there would be no height to the cowl. So I decided it was worth the effort to frog it back slowly. It took 2 or 3 hours to frog just 2 inches of work, but I did it because I felt it was worth it. So this is ribbing. I like it. It's actually quite a subtle colour change. Not pooling too much. A little, but together with the mohair, it kind of chills out that pooling a little bit. I'm not a fan of hand-dyed yarns or any yarn that is busy with splotches of colour. It can create pixelated crochet, and I personally am not a fan of that. So it was in danger of doing that potentially, but with the mohair in it, it's just kind of dampened it down a little bit, which I like. So this is, I think it's going to be a pretty plain cowl in the form of, it's going to be similar to this one, and it's probably going to have these eyelets all the way through it. It will not be this long, have this depth, because there isn't enough yarn. I made this maybe 2 or 3 years ago, this thing, a cowl, and I don't know how many balls of wool this is. It might be 200 grams of double knit with a couple of balls of mohair. I'm well into my mohair. I loves it, and it's so nice. So the obsession started maybe a couple of years ago, and I'm still going strong. Very plain cowl. I don't know if it's too plain, even with the eyelets. The one I do with this one, I think, yeah, eyelets all the way. Maybe it would be about that deep at most. But this one, being double knit, is got a different look about it. But it's pretty cozy, this one. I don't think I've ever shown it before. I did design a matching hat, which was rubbish. So I kept quiet about it, really. My hope is to actually have 2 patterns that are a bit mix and matchy. It all started with this cowl, which is made with Scipius Metropolis, and it was in an issue of Inside Crochet magazine a couple of years ago, and it's a combination of stripes on the eyelets, you see, and because there's so many combinations you can do with different colours, stripes, maybe some eyelets, throw it in. I was reluctant to just release this as is. I wanted to have, I wanted to give people choice about how they made their cowl, because if you think about it, you've got the bare bones of a cowl, so you can have it completely bog standard plain, and then gradually, depending on what you fancy, you can just add a couple of different colour stripes. You could add the eyelets, maybe add some bubbles, maybe add some, you know, whatever you want. But if you have the bare bones, then you can play around and do whatever you like. I didn't want to get carried away and have loads of different stitches though. But what I'm thinking of is 2 different patterns. You have the 4-ply options, and then you have double knit options. The 4-ply will have lots of different ones, and so will the double knit. So far what I've got is also this stripy one in the double knit. I hope I've written notes because I don't remember doing them. Just about how much yarn I used in terms of what I've got. So I really like that one actually. Hang on, it's got a crease in it. because it's just been stored down there for ages. I made this one maybe in August, September. I bought this ecru colour, whatever it is, from a little shop in Lyme Regis when I went and had tea with Michelle from Dora Explored. I bought two skeins of that, and then I had one of this blue to go with it. I didn't buy that one though, I think I already had that. So I thought that might be quite nice. That's quite a nice thing. And then that's as far as I've got with the double knits, these two. And then I want to somehow maybe build on it and have another 1 or 2 samples just to sort of demonstrate the different choices you can do with a recipe for just mix and matching, I suppose. With the 4-ply ones, I have moved on. This is Metropolis by Scapius, and it's classed as a 4-ply, but it's quite a plump 4-ply. It's a great yarn actually. It's really soft. Building on that, I then did this massive cowl. So it's got the stripes, it's got the eyelets like the original, but then I added some bubbles. You could go wild and just do loads of things and then keep crocheting until you've got a massive body stocking or something. So you could have it this way round, you could turn it upside down, and so that these sort of dominate, not hidden. This is the large version, so you could even snood it, couldn't you? Quite like that. It's a bit wide. Maybe you could benefit from knocking an inch off it, but the longer you get, the wider you want it, because otherwise it'll strangle you. So yeah, and the other thing I thought about when doing this was like perfect for Advent, yarn Advents, right? Loads of minis. You can just have a play with this sort of thing. And the reason these are in my whip video and not my finished object video is because, well, I'm still working on the samples and I'm nowhere near finished writing up the pattern, because I haven't really worked out the structure of the pattern yet. Like, do I just have like in sections for all the different kind of stitch patterns first and then separate it out into individual patterns? I'm not sure. And then I've got this one, which is just bubbles. So it's not so wide as that large version. And I don't know if you can see, but I think I started down here. I started here and I've got 6 rows of rib, and then even though I weighed it and thought I was being really mathematical, I still ran out of yarn on the last round. So this is only 5 rows of rib here, 5 rounds here, 6 rounds there. I'm a bit disappointed. But all I will do is when I write out the pattern, I'll make sure that that's just 5 rows there as well, and then bingo. I really like that. It feels really tactile as well. It's yummy. I just don't know when I'll stop though. That's the only thing. These aren't blocked either. So there's the bubbles, and then I've got another stripe one. I like that. That looks good on camera. So that's just 1 skein of 4-ply. I think the things that most of these 4-plies have in common, that they are sock twist. They've got a high, I don't know if it's high twist. If we still call it that, I get confused. Why is it high twist versus sock twist? I don't know if there's a difference. But whatever it is, I don't have the yarn labels, so I can't tell you. I really like this one actually. What I won't do is like name every single yarn in the pattern. It will just be what you've got. So they're also stash busters, and also because like some of them I don't have labels to, and this one is a completely different makeup. It's like, I don't think that this green mint green here. I don't think it's got any nylon in it, and I think it's liable to felt, so I don't want to recommend the specific yarns I've used because they're not necessarily ideal. But if you had an Advent mini set, then I mean that would work perfectly. This actually, the main yarn though, now that I've said that, the main yarn is from Yarnworks, which I talked about in a yarn chat from maybe New Year's, not last year, the year before. And that's come up really nicely. It's obviously got speckles in it, but it's not overwhelming with that pixelation. You haven't got it. It's really good for crochet. Just quite often you want maybe a hand-dyed yarn that's tonal, or semi-solid, mostly one colour essentially, and then with some speckles, beautiful. But if you've got splodges of colour, then that will start to pool and start to kind of detract away from whatever you've got in terms of stitch definition and stitch pattern. There you go. And then I'm working on the plainer one with the mohair for the 4-ply. And this, I do have a label. It's from Fruitful Fusion and it's pretty new. I only bought this maybe a month or two ago. It's called Marrakesh. It's a 4-ply fingering weight. It's 425 meters for 100 grams. It's 75.25. There you go. It's called Marrakesh. And it's, I think I'm a fan. It's looking good. It's very subtle rainbow hints in there. Okay. I am in no rush. Although maybe I'm being a tease, I suppose, because I'm in no real rush to release this. Especially because I've got to work on loads of DK samples as well. So what I may well do is just focus on the 4-ply ones, and then the DK ones can follow, because I haven't done anything for bubbles in DK. So I've done my eyelets, I've done my stripes. I might be tempted to do a combination as well. I might even do a long one where you can just like infinity cowl it and have a long twisty bit. We shall see. Yeah, I'm not going to be under any pressure on that one. But it's really fun to do. Love it. And then I've got kind of like some leftovers of those projects in terms of like some leftover minis. I've just got some little tiny scraps left over of lots of different colours, and also some of it has come from bigger balls. So for example, I only used 3 stripes of this in this cowl, so I've got loads of it left. And what I have done is create the beginnings of a little cowl that's completely different but using the same yarn. I would say I'm going to make another panel that looks like this, and then it'll be joint to this one, and then it'll either be a cowl that's about this size, or if I decide I've got enough yarn, I'll make it bigger, maybe deeper, another square deeper or something, and then I'll put a pretty border on it. But oh, it's very pretty. It's just a granny square with a flower centre, and oh my gosh, so many ends. But look, I watched Miss Congeniality and I sewed in these ends here, so some of it's been done. I would like to get this one out before I get those other ones out, because this one, I don't know, I'm just really enjoying it. It's funny though, because they're not really my colours. They're very soft and delicate, gentle colours, and maybe I'll do a more in your face version, or maybe I'll even do a more earthy toned version. I don't know. But I got the idea for the squares, the little flowery centre, and then the other round from this. I'm also working on another project. 13 years ago, I reckon, I made a blanket for my sister, and it has been, every time I share a picture of it on the gram, it's always really popular and people always ask me for the pattern. So I've kind of zhuzhed it up. And the original blanket that I made all those years ago is just bog standard grannies, but I just wanted to just like only a tiny bit make them more interesting, and that's as basic as just doing a flower centre, and that's it for all these little squares. They need to have more rounds on them. I've got all of these so far. I think it's 84 squares in total that I need, and they're all kind of I've got 13 colours, and I'm trying to sort of be random but also semi-organised as well, so that there's not any repeated, and I don't use one colour more than the others, and I'm doing okay. So I do that by working on sort of similar tones all in one session. I've still got these are only 4 rounds in here, and they need to have, oh actually 1, 2, 3, sorry, these are 3 rounded ones. These are all 4 rounded ones, and in total I was going to do 6 rounds because the original blanket has 6 rounds. However, if I were to do that, I would need to buy more yarn. I've got 13 colours, and I would only use like probably like 20 grams of each second ball if I bought more. So change of plan, I'm not going to do 6 rounds as in the original. I think I'm going to do 5 rounds, and that way I won't run out of colour. And I've also got some surplus colour, because not only have I got 84 of the little squares that will all be 5 rounds that should have been 6, I've got 12 squares of 12 rounds. So each one of these I'm going to undo 2 rounds so that they are 10 rounds, 10 round square. And these ones are different again, same centre, but then I made circles as well. So these ones have got circle centres that are even bigger. But what I shall have to do is undo these last 2 rounds, and it will be a smaller blanket, unfortunately, but at least I'll have enough yarn and I won't need to buy more. And then, well, I'll just have to buy another sort of set of yarn in different colours, maybe even a different yarn, and then do the 6 rounds and the 12 rounds, so it is as the original blanket. This one's going to be quite colourful because, unlike the original, I'm using 13 colours rather than 6. And actually, I think I'd like to make one with 6 colours, because this one is busier than I wanted it to be. They're very pretty though. Some of them are prettier than others. Like, I really like this combination. I may lift my favourite combos from, don't like that one that much. I may lift, that one's good. If I choose my favourite colours from these, maybe I'll use the best 6 colours. I don't know, but I'm glad I've decided to try the smaller version first. But it's paint box DK with a bit of wool in it. Whether or not I choose the same yarn brand for the next blanket, which might take me another 13 years to get around to making, I don't know. We shall see. But it needs to go with my bedroom. I don't want to just make any old random colours. I want it to be in keeping with the theme of my room, which isn't to say that it's got a major theme, but you know, the walls are a certain colour and my bedding is a certain colour, and you don't want it to be the opposite to that, do you? So we shall see. But I also don't know what yarn brand to choose, because This is going to keep us really warm because it's got wool content, but it's not the softest yarn in the world. And whether or not I go for something truly really snuggly, I don't know. But I don't want to use acrylic because I've got an acrylic blanket at the moment and it's not as warm as I want it to be. So I want it to be wool, so it's proper warm. I don't know what other brand to use because also I probably would need to invest in like buying a larger quantity of yarn for a bigger blanket. Any recommendations? What would be a good brand to use? Don't know, but I'm looking forward to that one finished because I think it will look good. I'm not doing too bad on progress. I'm doing quite well. I wanted it to be done by Christmas. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know, because I want to work on everything all at once. I've got lots of different things that I want to work on, and I like to do one thing maybe for a night or two, then I'll do a little rotation. I'm just trying to work out what else I've got to talk about. I've got a jumper project. I wonder if there's anything else. Oh yes. I almost forgot a couple of things actually. Something else that's I'm arguing is a work in progress because I haven't released it yet, or don't know if I'm going to because I've already got it on my blog, is this. This is a cotton version of my hodgepodge thing, and it's not as hodgepodge as my original because there's no magic knot for just tying yarn wherever and having it truly crazy. It's one different colour per row. And the technique though is pretty similar. I can't even remember if the original version I finished it off with half trebles in the end. But it is slightly different because it's not a hodgepodge, and also I did a foundation start rather than a chain, so that is different as well. So whether or not I write it up as a new pattern, I might well do. I haven't done any of the ends, obviously. I think with the foundation chain at the bottom, it's actually sturdier as well than a chain, which I like. I just need to line this and put a zip in it. So that's a whip. As is this, I suppose, but also arguably not, because this is a cotton version of the bigger hodgepodge bag, all lined, but no post or anything has been written about it. Again, the difference being exactly the same as that little one is that's a foundation start on the bottom with a UK DC, US SC, and then not tying it off wherever and having loads of magic knots, but just having one row of colour per row. And this is cotton rather than acrylic, which is so much better for a bag. This is going to be more durable and just wear so much better than the acrylic, because I do actually have a hodgepodge purse like this, which I put my makeup in. And I used it for a long time and it's just looking really, really tatty now. So I need to replace it, which is why I've made this. But I'm also not 100% sold on the colours, although they look great on the screen right now. And then I have one more whip to talk about. By the way, if you haven't seen episode 102 or even 101, this is the little fluffy clouds cardigan, which will be released mid-January. It's a very nice cardigan. I do like it. It's very snugly warm. Right, so I've got a little chart that I've printed out because I've made myself a little pattern on Stitch Fiddle, which is great for doing crochet corner to corner patterns on. I pay for my subscription just so I can get a few extra sort of twerks? Perks, not twerks. I'm not a twerker. This is a jumper, a sweater that I want to do, and it's lots of colour work, and it's not going to be for the faint of heart. as you can see, I've got lots of ends here coming off, and this is the start of a wintry jumper. I'm not going to give away the details of it, but I've abandoned it at this stage because I'm going to frog it. In real life, these two greens, there's no real contrast. Mildly so, yes there is, but it's not great. And but I do notice that right now on the screen there's more of a difference, and in photographs there is too. But the other thing as well is I think I've got the colour order wrong and it's not how I want it to be. So I'm going to have to change it. So for example, I'm going to pull out this, oh god, it's a 4-ply held together with mohair. It's my mohair kick. So I might leave this as it is temporarily and then frog it, because what I'm going to do is change the colour order. And also, not that long ago, a new shade of green arrived in the post. So, hello, do you want to come out? Yeah, of course you do. There we go, good girl. So, have you had a nice sleep? Yeah? Good. It's a bit early for din-dins, isn't it? Silly sausage. Oh my lord. Oh my god. See, I'm just trying to find the old green. These are the two greens I had, but I've just bought this one in the hopes of having more of a contrast. At the moment, I have decisions to make about which two greens I use. These two were too close together in that jumper, so one of them's got to go to be replaced with this one. So either these two stay or these two stay. But it looks very grey, but it's not, it's a sage green. And then also now I have 3 different options of mohair colours as well. I mean, this one in the middle, probably, oh, that one, is that the one I was using? This is the one I was using. This is one that matches quite closely, but then this one might really bring out a bit of zhuzh in this one. So what I'll have to do with this yarn is just do a little tiny sample of each to see which one I prefer. I'm exhausted just talking about it. I'm tangling loads here. I might do that and that. I think that's going to be better. But I have, not only am I working with loads of different colours all at the same time, they each have mohair and a non-mohair, don't they? I am tempted, and what do you think about this? Would you just put in a little bit of preparatory work and get your mohair and your non-mohair and wind them together in a ball so that you have it as one ball? Because actually, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was working on that cowl with the mohair, when I frogged it and then had to wind it all back, it is coming out as kind of like a one strand thing. And I think maybe it would be a bit of a bit less arduous if I spent the time to do that beforehand. Is it worth it? What do you think? Because at the moment we are talking, I guess it's a bit of, it's kind of like yarn vomit in here, and it's only going to get worse as I carry on working this jumper, which, by the way, will have chevrons across the front, and I'll see how I feel, and if it wasn't too bad, I'll do chevrons across the back as well. But if I have a raging nightmare, then I'll just do them on the front. Oh, it depends on if I've got enough yarn though. I can't actually, I can't just do them on the front, because then what I'm going to have is one colour down here, then the chevrons, and then I finish with another colour on the top. So I have to actually put the work in and do the same back and front, because otherwise if you do one colour at the back it'll jar and look stupid. I'm glad I'm having this chat, because I've just realised something, that I just realised that I have to put all effort in, or none at all. And I know you're probably like, ugh, that's like such hard work, but the swatch I did, it's really nice and fuzzy and halo-y, and then without it, it's kind of a bit sad sack, I thought. So this is on its own without the mohair, and this is weird, it's all plumptious and luxurious, and this is just like, I don't know, it just looks a bit dull. I think the mohair will make it outstanding. So yeah, the only other thing that is, because of the stitch pattern, the chevrons, and the way it's graded, there isn't a seamless size transition across all sizes. It's a real, quite frankly, it's a ball ache. Every size, if I was to do it evenly, you'd have 3 blocks difference between each size. But the chevron being an even number of things, I can't have, it has to be even Stevens down both sides. So I can't have 2 blocks here and 1 block here just to make up to the next size, because then your chevrons will be askew. So I'm going to have to sacrifice even grading. Either I round up. Is it acceptable and inclusive to maybe have, instead of having 9 sizes, say have 5 sizes, but they have a broader spectrum? Is that acceptable? Is this pattern, has it been a nightmare from the start? Am I pushing forth on something that I should not give birth to? Don't know. Crumbs. What do you think, March Pain? Hey? You just want some biscuits, don't you? She's not really called March Pain. I don't know where it came from, why I started calling her March Pain. She's Marceline, the Vampire Queen. But, hey, you're called all sorts of names, really, aren't you? So those are some of my whips. I've got more, of course I have, but those are the ones I'm sort of most enthusiastic about in the minute, and the ones I really want to see finished, because despite the disaster of the last one, I think it would look spectacular when finished. In my brain, it's amazing. I have wound the mohair with the non-mohair to create all these balls, and it has saved me no end of grief. It's brilliant. Totally recommend it. Do it, do it, do it. I don't know where I'm going to pop me talking right now into episode 103. I'm not sure, because I am speaking from the future. It's been a few days since I published episode 102, and in that episode I said, toying with the idea of doing a cal in the new year, possibly a garment cal, possibly a cardigan cal. And yeah, I'm going to do it, because all you guys that commented did so in a very positive way. So I'm taking that as a sign that I have to do this. This is going to be real good fun. So in mid-January to mid-March, let's do a cardigan cal, and it will be to make a crochet cardigan And as I only have 3, I'll be launching 2. I've decided to launch She Sells Seashells and Little Fluffy Clouds at the same time. One is an Aran, no it's not. One is a 4-ply cardigan, one is a double knit cardigan, and then there's this one which is the perfect cardigan, and this one is an Aran weight cardigan. So I've got a cardigan in each sort of the main of the 3 of 3 yarn weights. So with my patterns you can choose whether or not you want to make one of those, and I'll do a 25% discount if you wanted to buy one of those patterns for the cowl with a special code or something. And then, okay, so I was thinking about then also inviting just a small handful of other designers and asking them very politely if they would also consider doing a 25% discount on any cardigan patterns that they have, so that you could choose to make one of theirs if you didn't want to make one of mine. And then also try and sort of scrabble around and maybe beg for a few prizes, digital pattern prizes, I'm thinking, to go into a prize pot, so that when the cowl comes to a close, we can have a few prize giving competitions and things, probably mostly drawn at random, because I haven't had time to think about whether or not it would be a good idea to do different categories or not. So I just felt like probably luck of the draw type thing. What does that sound like? Does that sound okay? More details are to follow as I kind of iron it out. But needless to say, it's a go-go. We're going to do it. Let's do this thing. Let's have a cardigan cowl in January next year. Get Christmas out of the way, and then you can have a bit of me time, can't you? I'm going to make a cardigan, and this is one of the reasons why I think I want to open it up to some of my designer friends, is because as part of the cowl I want to make a cardigan, but I don't want to make one of mine. I want to make somebody else's, and I've chosen already which cardigan I would like to make. And so I've already asked 2 friends if they'd be up for doing something with the cowl, and they've both said yeah, sure. And then I think also I've got a couple of other people that are interested too, so I will keep you posted. Yeah, and I hope you want to join in. How does that sound? Let me know. Thank you very much. Yeah. What time is it? Oh shoot, it's 3:05. I've still got time to go to the shop to buy that wholemeal flour before I have to go and get the boy from school. Right, I think that's it for now. And as I've said before, it's pretty much a case of I'll see you when I see you. I may try and come back after Christmas, New Year, when the cardigan is due for release, and there's another one I would like to release around the same time. So I hope you're well. Don't forget to watch the other episode as well to get the full what I've been up to. And I will see you when I see you. Thank you very much for watching. Cheerio. Bye bye.